Today we are going to discuss on the topic History of Anthropology Part 1 entitled Emergence of Anthropology. Anthropology as an independent discipline is a recent intellectual adventure. It would be wrong to say that the first anthropologists started from scratch. There were traditions emanating from various sources which the pioneers encountered, and it was not always easy to reconcile these traditions. The so-called primitive societies had been studied in the 18th century by political philosophers. They were in search of evidence for the theoretically postulated state of nature prior to the emergence of the state as a political agency. The aim of these political philosophers was an academic one. Yet they were not only people who studied primitive societies. Travelers and explorers also reported on the life of exotic peoples. They did so out of curiosity. The impulse which motivated the writing of fanciful accounts of primitive peoples was a personal one. It had little to do with scientific research as such. Now let me discuss the appearance of anthropology as a discipline, that is, the emergence of anthropology. The emergence of anthropology as a distinct discipline took place in 19th century. Sidney Slotkin, in his book Readings in Early Anthropology, traced the history of many anthropological subdisciplines from 17th and 18th centuries. In his opinion, most of the fields of anthropology was developed by the end of 18th century. But he also agreed that the real professional interest of the subject did not appear until 19th century. In fact, the intellectual heritage of the Greeks and the Romans was mooted considerably by the Christian theology. Again, it was revived at a later date when voyages were undertaken to discover the new territories. The unusual peoples and their unknown way of life evoke interest of navigators and other explorers. As a result, in 1800, a society named as Observers of Man was founded in Paris by the Union of Naturalists and Medical Men. This society promoted the study of natural history by providing guidance to the travelers and explorers of far places. The society did not last long. In 1838, another society for the protection of aborigines was established in London. Eminent scholars joined the society, whose aim was political and social rather than scientific. Again, within a very short time, the need of a scientific society was realized. One of the influential members, Mr. Hawking, in 1839, inaugurated an ethnological society in Berlin. Milne Edwards, the eminent naturalist, took there an active part. In 1841, a similar society was formed in London. Later, the Third Ethnological Society was founded in New York in 1842. The establishment of ethnological societies can be taken as an important landmark in the emergence of anthropology. Anthropology is therefore considered as the product of scientific developments in Western world. Charles Darwin's Origin of Species, 1859, perhaps boosted the zeal of all scientists in different fields. His idea not only opened the new avenues for zoology, anatomy, physiology, paleontology, archaeology, and geology, but also accelerated the pace of socio-cultural studies. Being influenced by Darwin, a group of intellectuals, namely Spencer, Morgan Tyler reached to the conclusion that evolution did not operate only in case of physical aspects of mankind, but also in cultural life. Accordingly, the year 1859 may be taken as the date of birth of anthropology. R. Murray, 1912, termed anthropology as style of Darwin. In the same year, 1859, Paul Broca founded an anthropological society in Paris. Anthropology made a significant progress in America following Broca's light. In 1863, James Hunt established an anthropological society in London. Hunt declared anthropology as a whole science of man. In 1863, Thomas Huxley was elected the president of the Anthropological Society. He belonged to the Ethnological Society in London for a considerable span of time. From that time onwards, when the work of Ethnological Society and Anthropological Society merged together. Nearly 30 years, from 1840 to 1870, a great debate continued with the two words ethnology and anthropology. But the progress of anthropology did not dwindle down for its ambiguity in the name. France, Germany, and England highly appreciated the subject. In fact, anthropology earned a great popularity over whole of Europe. International Congress of Anthropology and Prehistoric Archaeology were held in 1866, 1867, and 1868 in different parts of Europe. Anthropological Institute of Great Britain and Ireland was established in 1871, but in 1873 a new London Anthropological Society came into being. This new society published the journal Anthropologia, International Communication, Research and Publication were the main objectives of this society. Paul Broca, in his address, The Progress of Anthropology, 1869, had pointed out that anatomy along with biology formed the pivotal base of anthropology. He also believed that general anthropology had the potential to evolve with crown and glory in the scientific field sooner or later. After a few years, anthropology really acquired a synthetic character and honored both in Europe and America. In Europe, the different names are still in vogue. They are complementary to each other to cover the whole study of man. But in America and most of the Asia, the word anthropology itself is sufficient to connote the entire meaning. Anthropology in America was not merely an offshoot of European thought. It became an independent center for the development of anthropology in 19th century. The empirical fieldwork of European anthropologists for training and practice continued up to the 20th century. Thomas Jefferson, the third president of United States, is said to be the first anthropologist in America. He was the pioneer empirical researcher in archaeology. It is therefore clear that the scholars in America got special field opportunities. On the other hand, England exhibited a great development only in social theories. Spencer, Tyler, and Fraser were the renowned names, but they are known as the armchair anthropologists. However, in later period, we get the scholars like Durkheim, Mauss, and others who deliberately tried to avoid the armchair speculation. In the last half of 19th century, some anthropologists became interested in the study of racial stock along with the biological evolution of man. France contributed a good delve in prehistory and physical anthropology. Germany at first established a psychological and later a geographical tradition of cultural anthropology. All these were empirical studies. Thus, American anthropology got the influence of European anthropology. The concept of culture given by Sir Edward Burnett Tylor, 1832 to 1917, established anthropology as an academically recognized discipline in Europe. Tylor has been recognized as the father of modern anthropology. The anthropologists of America also believe this. Tylor was definitely one of the principal founders of anthropology who forwarded the idea of cultural evolution. Like Tylor, Lewis Henry Morgan, 1818 to 1881 of America, has also shown the growth of human culture with time. Both of them believe in the psychic unity of mankind. Increasing complexity of the Western world with its multiplying social problems as well as the concern for understanding them gradually led to the fashioning of social philosophies and gave birth to various social sciences. The discipline of sociology and anthropology appeared as twin sisters, particularly after Industrial Revolution and colonial expansion, respectively. After the First World War, outlook of anthropology changed greatly. 19th century anthropologists were totally unacquainted with the peoples with whom they were concerned. They used to depend on the data collected by other non-anthropologists like explorers, missionaries, administrators, etc. As the anthropologists put forward their propositions, sitting merely in their libraries, many speculations were involved there. They learned cheaply on comparison. Bronislaw Malinowski, 1884 to 1942, first broke that trend. During the Second World War, the American anthropologists paid attention to the psychological problems and issues of the whole nation. National character studies became very popular in this period. Moreover, some interesting development took place in the arena of language and culture. At the end of the World War, anthropology got the French scholar Claude Lévi-Strauss. His role seems to be indispensable for the discipline of anthropology. By the end of the Second World War, the physical aspect of anthropology also took a new turn. It was no longer a study of limited to different kinds of measurements. The study of growth and development became prominent due to the rediscovery of genetics. The progress in the study of human genetics provided a firm basis of integration between physical anthropology and social anthropology. Anthropology's basic interest in prehistory is more or less akin to primitive ethnography. But the New World prehistorians did not proceed in the same way as like the prehistorians of the Old World. Changes became evident in the field of linguistic anthropology. We can, however, conclude that at the formative phase, anthropology was linked with the exploration of life and culture of colonial countries. Anthropology's task was to interpret the materials collected by the non-anthropologists. British scholars not only gave a conceptual lead to this field, they first organized the International Congress of Anthropological and Ethnological Science in 1934, where 900 anthropologists, ethnologists, and other scientists of allied field from 43 countries had participated. It was further strengthened by British social anthropology. The impact of British anthropology was dominant in the next three congresses at Copenhagen 1938, Brussels 1948, and Vienna 1952. The Fifth International Congress of Anthropological and Ethnological Sciences, held in Philadelphia, USA in 1956, showed the post-war dominance of American anthropology. It was a remarkable anthropological conference held under the chairmanship of Alfred Grover in 1952. It was also significant because Soviet delegates for the first time attended this International Congress of Anthropological and Ethnological Sciences. American model of anthropology was followed in this congress instead of British model. After discussing all aspects of history of anthropology, now we can draw the conclusion. Thus, a large number of associates of the current anthropology under guidance of Professor Soltag were able to link the whole world with anthropology. The Soviet ethnography was found to be developed on the line of evolutionary theory, and later that became modified by the writings of Marx, Engels, and Lenin. Thus, new dimensions were added to anthropology. The concept of colonial anthropology or neo-imperialism in anthropology is comparatively a recent achievement. The scholars of the third world countries were neglected for a long time. Now they are also getting more importance. But in spite of all these recent developments, we must not forget the beginning of anthropology that was blessed with the European and American grace.
Wangjing Bazaar, located in the southeastern part of Manipur, is at a distance of 30 kilometers from Imphal, the capital of Manipur. It lies on the National Highway 39. Kairang village is located on the fringe of a range of hills at a distance of 2 kilometers in the east from Wangjing Bazaar of Wangjing Tentha constituency in the Thoubal district. The village is many centuries old and has existed from the ancient days of the Meitei kingdom. Wangjing Lingtho, who is identified with Lord Vishnu, is the most revered deity of the village. It is represented by images of two human-headed tigers facing opposite to each other. The village has been named after them. The village had been known by the name of Kairang, which literally means human-headed tiger. It later came to be known by the name of Kairang due to assimilation.
Wangjing was owned by a family called Swayam. Then villagers consulted the head priest of the temple board at the palace. He expressed that the deity was recorded as a community god. Thus, during my time as the Pradhan of the village, it began worshipping as the village deity. Now we have acquired land in the name of the god. It has prospered.
During the princely state, its festival was celebrated with royal patronage every year on the first Monday of the month of Kalin, which falls during the months of June and July. Maharaja Churachan, who ruled Manipur in the last part of the 19th century and the early part of the 20th century, would send Sanapala, a troupe of royal artists, for Nat Sankirtan before the deity on the said day. The villagers till today regard the day as the most important religious day of the year.
During exam time in March and April, students from various localities come for blessings.
The earliest inhabitants of Kairang village were from the other places outside Manipur, such as Tripura. They were later categorized under the different surnames based on their occupation. Some of them are Pijam, Takhilambam, Moibum Khongbam, and Selaibam. Pijam's occupation was that of washing clothes. Moibum Khongbam performed the task of blowing moibungs on the ritual ceremonies. Selaibam occupied themselves in the making of coins. Later, some of the urban dwellers who were rewarded lands at Kairang by the king settled there permanently. They were the Nongthombam, Chongtham, Laishram, Usham, Kaisham, Kumanthem and Thangjam. The village has only one primary school, which is the only educational institute in Kairang village.
This is the only school at Kairang village. Children of this village attended this school for their primary education. It is the right time now to upgrade this school. Then we could give education to more students. The school was established in 1954. The staff strength now is very low. We want to increase the strength very soon. In the previous year, there were 45 students. In the 2010 session, there are about 50 students. Due to lack of infrastructure in this school, many students were admitted to private schools or better schools. Frankly speaking, education is poor because there is no high school in the village except an UZB school.
There are no government offices in the village. In case of medical treatment, the villagers have to travel as far as Wangjing and Taubal.
Regarding health services, there is no primary health center, not even a sub-center, but there could have been one here.
The village has 300 households. The major household industry of the village is carpentry. Almost 80% of the households depend on carpentry as an important primary source of income. The growth of the industry in this village has provided an income-earning opportunity not only to the residents of the village, but also to a number of unemployed youths from the neighboring villages. Late Kumanthim Amuba, Loitongbam Nila and Nongtongbam Yainabi were the forerunners of the carpentry trade in the village. Loitongbam Manglem, son of late Loitongbam Nila, is continuing the trade successfully.
I appeared metric examination. I could not pass. At the same time, I could not get a job. After trying some jobs, I decided to take up carpentry for livelihood. I earn around rupees 45 to 50,000 a year. Now, I can buy some land property. Carpenters who were trained under me have started their own workshops. Some have become money lenders. There are about 80 to 90 workshops in this village. In the struggle for survival, this is the only profession which could earn money at the earliest. Their earnings can easily support their families. Everybody works at their homes. We get the work orders from Impal as well as various places in Manipur. In order to finish the work in time, the male workers do the major jobs while the ladies do the finishing touches. Each lady earns about rupees 3,000 per month. Orders are received throughout the year. There is no season. My motto is earn as you work. Since carpentry was taken up as an earning profession in Kairang, there is no family under poverty line. This village can be taken as an industry model village. If I work as a grade 3 or 4 in the government service, my life would have been different. Had I did not taken up carpentry, I would not be here.
Although the village has about 1,200 voters, employment in the government sector is significantly low. However, the village has a distinction of being the birthplace of some outstanding men and women in other fields. Pungeiba Manglem, a well-known mridanga player, is popular in every nook and corner of Manipur.
I completed PG diploma course from the Zen Dance Academy, Impal. Many youngsters from different villages of Manipur have come to learn this art from me. I visited China in 2001 as an artist of the Zen Dance Academy.
Rock climber Darshini is also a popular person of the state. Now the village has 150 workshed for carpentry, which gives livelihood to its youth. The carpentry products of Kairang is quite a trade today, and its products are available in all the important centers of furniture in Imphal. In spite of the livelihood stage the villagers have reached, the availability of the raw materials in the near future remains questionable. There are villagers who wishes the inculcation of routine work amongst the carpenters. In their opinion, they have to begin with the usage of the generators. Besides carpentry, some villagers also take up piggery.
There are 3 lekais at Kairang, the north, middle and anterior. Inhabitants of the north lekai are the only people who are doing horticulture in the surrounding hills. According to my calculation, about rupees 15 lakhs could be earned in the previous year from the farm.
Work culture is evident among the villagers. As a result of it, the village has become prosperous. Each house in the village has a GI sheet roofing. There is no household in the village which is below the poverty line. The present situation of the trade, which has so far employed households including women and children, is remarkable in the village economy. The growth in the trade has potentially an income-raising and poverty-reducing effect. The village was once characterized by its small cultivator households and landless cultivator households, but it is different today. With the growth of the trade surplus income, for it has enabled many of the villagers to invest in the accumulation of land.